Welcome into the show today. I've got some loaded topics to get to, and I'm very excited to talk about them this morning. I'm going to touch on Sam Darnold and his long-term availability or potential with the Minnesota Vikings in just a little bit, so stay with me. But first, I want to react to some comments made by arguably the greatest quarterback that's ever lived in the NFL. And he was asked a question, and he does this whole little Twitter, X, YouTube fan mail thing. And Tom Brady was asked if he had to throw to a wide receiver in the NFL, which wide receiver would he choose? You think about the best ones: Tyreek Hill, Jamar Chase, Puka Nacua. He goes past all of those players and picks the best non-diva wide receiver in the NFL and gives praise to Mr. Justin Jefferson.
Hey, what's up, everyone? Time for another NFL on Fox fan mailbag, where I answer a question from a fan. Love this. It's been submitted on social media. And today's question is from Zachary Wurtzel. I'm a lifelong Pats fan. I'm wondering which current receiver that I never played with would I most want to throw to, and why? Great question. A couple tough choices out there. I know Jamar Chase, what a year he's having, but I'm saying Justin Jefferson. He can do everything from any spot on the field. He goes deep, he goes short, catch the ball, catch and run, touchdowns, third down. He's a ridiculous player. He reminds me so much of my former teammate and Viking, Randy Moss. So if it comes down to choosing only one, he would be the one right now.
It's fun to see Justin Jefferson's statistics this season because he has not necessarily gone off for a massive 180, 190, 200-yard game for the Vikings this season. He really has only had multiple games over 100 yards this year. Let's pull up his stats. Justin Jefferson, game log. He had 133 yards against the 49ers. And then it's not until the Rams game. How many weeks is that later? 1, 2, 3, 4. 5 weeks later, he has his next 100-yard game against the Rams, 115. The following week, he has 137 against the Colts. And then it's not until 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 weeks later, until this past week against the Atlanta Falcons, he has 132 yards. So if it is possible to contain Justin Jefferson to some limited amount, opposing defenses have actually done a pretty good job of that, because he hasn't necessarily gone off this year. Now he has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7 touchdowns this season. And the 2 touchdowns against the Atlanta Falcons were his first touchdowns since October 20th. So it's been almost 2 months since Jefferson has caught a touchdown pass. And that's something that we haven't necessarily seen in the past, which also goes to the point of it being extremely important that Sam Darnold doesn't have tunnel vision towards Justin Jefferson, because defensive coordinators are locking in on him. And now that he's spreading the football around and targeting Addison more, you're seeing more offensive success from the Minnesota Vikings. But back to Justin Jefferson. He's still having a stellar year. He still already has over 1,000 yards catching. He still has 7 touchdowns. So even though he's limited this season in how much production he's had, he's still better than 99.9% of NFL wide receivers. And the thing about Jefferson is that his most important trait, or one of the most important traits, is not seen on or in statistics. Because there's no stat that says Justin Jefferson draws 3 defenders on this play, which opened up Jordan and Addison down the field. There's no statistic that says Justin Jefferson drew 2 defenders, a safety came down here who was supposed to be guarding Addison down deep. He was threatened by Jefferson, so he left his spot. Addison or Hawkinson was wide open down the field, and that created that big play. So much of Jefferson's value is not seen in statistics. And I think everybody knows that. Well, maybe not everyone, but I know the Minnesota Vikings organization knows that, and I know Tom Brady knows that. So it's really not a statistical comparison between Jamar Chase and Justin Jefferson. Because Chase, he's got the yards, he's got the touchdowns, he's got the receptions this season. But does he have the impact that Jefferson has on defensive coordinators? He has some impact. Teams know that he's the number 1 receiver and he's the threat, but does he attract 2 to 3 defenders regardless of where he is on the football field? Jefferson's in the backfield with Darnold sometimes in shotgun, and he goes out left or whatever. You see 2 defenders already on him. He's in the slot and he's going towards the side. 2 defenders right there. Or he's out wide. He's going deep, doing a little crosser. 2 defenders right there too. Which means that players that could be wide receiver 1s, like Addison, should be or are wide open down the football field. So it's cool to see Tom Brady give the credit to Justin Jefferson and compares him similarly to Randy Moss. Plus, I haven't even mentioned his lack of diva-ness, which you see all the time from NFL wide receivers. So it's cool to see Brady recognize Jefferson for his abilities and for his multi-dimensional talent. He can go deep, he can go short, he can go through the middle, he can do all these different things. Plus, you got to say this too. It's a little easier to be a wide receiver in today's league than it was 10 years ago, because you hit them too high, it's a penalty. Lead with your head is a penalty. They fall awkwardly, or there's a big hit, and it might not necessarily be a penalty, but because of the brute force behind a hit, even if it's led with the shoulder, they'll just call the guy a defenseless receiver. So, in terms of going through the middle, it's a little easier to be a wide receiver today than it was 10 years ago in the NFL, just because of the lack of contact that defenses can have on a wide receiver as the ball is coming towards them. Think Jordan Addison versus Tennessee Titans. Vikings 4th down at the goal line, and Darnold threw Addison the ball. He almost caught it. The Titans defender leads with his shoulder. Big blow to Addison, and everyone's first reaction, without even really considering where the hit was, what it was led by, was throw the flag. And that was the officials' reaction too. Why? Because it looked like a big hit. It looked like it could have been an illegal hit. Was it illegal? No. It was just a big, big hit. So, credit to Jefferson, but we also have to recognize that the wide receiver position has changed in the past 10 years. All right, the next topic that I wanted to address is this topic about franchise tagging Sam Darnold. And Ben Gessling, who's an insider for the Star Tribune, I react to a lot of his things because the Purple Persuasion on X does a sensational job getting information from these insiders and putting it all into one place. So if you don't follow him now, go do that. He mentioned and was talking about a potential franchise tag for Sam Darnold. And I think the word franchise tag is a scary word, especially for a player. Players hate the franchise tag. But why is a franchise tag not an option for the Minnesota Vikings? I think we view the Vikings as a world-class organization, which everyone says that they are. And because they're a world-class organization, that means that they can't franchise take Sam Darnold. Why? Why can't they franchise take Sam Darnold? So here's what Ben Gessling said. He said that although the Vikings regime comes off as kumbaya type nature, they are more cutthroat behind the scenes. Gessling pointed to examples such as firing defensive coordinator Ed Donatell and drawing a line with Kirk Cousins. One more point to make as well is last year, was it last year? I think it was last year, when the Vikings were having those fumbling issues and there was a camera outside of the Vikings locker room. You could hear Kevin O'Connell yelling at his players to hold on to the dang football. And here's the thing. Kevin O'Connell comes to the press conference and shows off his personable skills, his ability to be calm, collective, and really say a whole lot of nothing. But every time we see that video posted by the Minnesota Vikings about Kevin O'Connell's passion, and it shows him in his locker room speech giving away game balls, that's who the real Kevin O'Connell is in the Vikings organization. We see a tainted version of Kevin O'Connell at the press conference, in the media, buttoned up. But outside of press conferences, Kevin O'Connell is a fiery, competitive SOB. And that's who he is. The Vikings, why couldn't they use the franchise tag? Why is it not an option? Because as far as I'm concerned, the franchise tag is available to every single team that wants to use it. So why is it not a possibility for the Vikings to use that? Now, I don't know if I like the idea of a quarterback, Sam Darnold, signing for a 1-year, $41 million deal just because of the salary cap implications. But if the Minnesota Vikings felt like J.J. McCarthy was not ready and didn't want to waste the following season, well, why not? Why not one more year of Sam Darnold if they felt that J.J. McCarthy is not ready? Darnold's not going to like it. Agent's not going to like it. Who does like it? They all want the long-term deal, the long-term security, but the franchise tag is there for teams to use. Kirk Cousins got franchise tagged. Bengals wide receiver T. Higgins, I think he's franchise tagged right now. Players hate it because they want that 3 to 4 year deal. But the NFL offers it available to teams, and Minnesota Vikings should just use that in their favor if they feel J.J. McCarthy is not ready. So why not? Why not? Minnesota Vikings, be cutthroat. Show some power, show some moves, because all this kumbaya stuff, what's that going to get you? A nice long-term friendly relationship? Okay, maybe that's valuable to some people. But what are the odds that Sam Darnold is long-term friends with these guys anyway? So what does everyone say, and what do you hear from every single person following that, following a tough deal or contract with a player or an agent or a coach or a general manager? What does everyone say? It's a business. Players say it's a business. Oh, I left this organization to get more money from this organization because it's a business. Well, teams do the same thing. They didn't let you walk to this other organization and they signed you to a franchise tag because it's a business. It works both ways. It works for players that want bigger contracts, that don't want to resign with the original team because they want a bigger role or whatever the case may be. And it also works in favor of teams that want one more year of a successful player in their organization when they can't come to terms on a long-term deal, or they don't want to sign a guy to a long-term deal. So it's a business decision, and that's that. The NFL is the highest grossing business in sports. So why couldn't the Minnesota Vikings be considering a franchise tag with Sam Darnold? I think it makes a lot of sense if they feel J.J. McCarthy is not ready for the big time, for the show, to be QB1. All right, everyone. Those are the 2 takes. Thank you for making this podcast for every day. Hit that subscribe button right there. And remember to reach out to my sponsor, Hokeland Farm, at 952-491-1541. If you don't remember that number, the Hokeland Farm information is in the podcast description. 20% off by mentioning the Minnesota Tim podcast, Hokeland Farm. Get great beef today. Do it. All right. Thanks, everyone, for going on this journey with me this morning.